to the F Word, where we expose the hidden world of fraud and deception. I'm your host, Indiana, and today we're diving into the story of a fraudster who might just redefine your idea of the nicest guy in the room. Joining me is Dave Oswald from Forensic Restitution, an expert in uncovering the schemes of people who are often too charming to suspect. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Indiana. I'm excited to be here and share the story with your listeners.
I mean, I would say you're the nicest guy in the room. But let's jump in. Dave, when we think of criminals, most of us assume we'd spot one right away, but that's often not the case, is it?
Not at all, Indiana, not at all. One of the biggest misconceptions about criminals, especially fraudsters, is that somehow either they'll stand out from the rest of the crowd and they'll be easy to spot. The truth is that most successful fraudsters are often the most charming and likable people in the room. They thrive on the trust and their likability as their greatest weapons.
So now, speaking of likable, tell us about Calvin Holmes, not his real name, obviously, whose story perfectly illustrates this.
Sure, Calvin was a quintessential nice guy.
In inverted
He applied for he applied for the role of a financial manager at a travel company, and we'll call that travel company Travelmate. And the position required impressive academic credentials, a university degree, and an honors degree. But Calvin didn't have either, but that didn't stop him from applying.
So then how did he pull that off?
Well, at his interview, Calvin was asked to provide proof of his qualifications. So a few days later, the MD received an email supposedly from a respected university, confirming Calvin's credentials. Of course, the email was fake and had been fabricated by Calvin himself. With this endorsement, Calvin secured the position as head of finance.
Sneaky. And I mean, I guess that's where the real fraud began.
Exactly. Within a month, Calvin had used a fake email account posing as the MD of the organization to award himself an increase in his salary. His salary jumped from 5,000 to 7,500. And remember that he'd only been there for a couple of months at the time. Over the course of that year, he repeated this tactic until he was earning almost triple what he was earning beforehand, 15,000 per month.
Not bad for someone starting out. I mean, that's astonishing. But he didn't stop at just inflating his salary, did he, Dave?
No, not even close. Calvin also awarded himself a bunch of bonuses, in fact, $45,000 in total.
Nice.
Again, using fake communications from the MD, in quotes. Then, in a particularly brazen move, he convinced the MD to leave him with signed blank checks for emergency payments while she was away. He said that it was too far to travel to the head office in order to get a second signatory and took too much out of his day, so this was far easier for her to sign. She did, and when she came back, he never tore up any of those checks. They used them to pay invoices from a fake company he owned, siphoning off an additional $18,000 a month.
That is actually unbelievable. I'm completely gobsmacked. I mean, how was he finally caught?
Well, it wasn't by anything the company did, and this is the scary part. It was actually that Calvin had gone on a trip to London, UK, and while he was there, his bank then phoned up the owner of the company and said to him, "Listen, we've just picked up that this credit card has been used in the UK. You didn't give us any advance warning that you're going to be using it there, and we just wanted to check that it is okay for it to be used." Now, the MD had instructed that that card was to be cancelled months earlier. So they then asked for the statements to be sent directly to them. And of course, there was a large amount of payments that were for Calvin on those statements.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, but the even crazier thing is that what Calvin then did is he started to download the bank statements, and then he altered them in Excel in order to show that he had paid back the money that he had stolen, but he didn't pay it back at all.
But surely that's not how it works. You can't just pay back a fraud, can you? I mean, in the real world, let's say you pay back, like in a company, they're like, oh, that's cool, you paid back. Or is it still?
Well, I mean, he kind of said that he'd used it by accident.
Oh.
And that he was dreadfully sorry, and therefore he started paying it back. But I mean, the problem is that the discrepancy was too big to hide by then. So going in and changing the bank statements just dug the hole even deeper for him.
And then the game was over. But I mean, here's the question. How did he get away with it for so long?
Well, he was smart. He was a nice guy, and he created an atmosphere of fear within the people the employees who reported to him, so that they'd very rarely question his instructions. The MD of the company was a particularly harsh lady, and nobody wanted to stand up to her. So if an email came supposedly from her, nobody questioned it. And he knew that this is what the MD was like. Within his own department, he ruled with a similar mix of charm and intimidation. He'd take his team out for Friday lunches, socialized with them, and always came across as friendly and approachable. But anybody who crossed him felt the wrath of his anger. And nobody wanted to challenge the nicest guy in the room.
Or Mr. Popular, right? A lot of the time.
Yeah.
Mr. Popular, good looking, funny. Right. So trustworthy. I mean, that blend of fear and charm seems to be a common tactic. What else can businesses learn from this case?
Well, I think the main lesson in this is that trust is not a substitute for oversight. As much as we'd like to trust people, we need to have a look and verify what they're doing. Simple measures like regular expense reviews or independent audits could have exposed Kelvin's fraud much earlier. External consultants like us at Forensic Restitution bring objectivity and expertise that internal staff may not have, especially when there's a fear of retaliation to those staff members.
Or a very good-looking person that you just can't really mess with, right? And I mean, speaking of forensic restitution, what advice would you give to companies that suspect fraud or want to prevent it, other than not hiring very good-looking, nice people?
Well, prevention's always better than the cure. Conduct a fraud risk assessment or forensics audit, and you can uncover vulnerabilities before they're exploited. At Forensic Restitution, we offer a free initial consultation to help companies understand their risks and how to address them.
I heard you even sometimes send coffee. We've been privy to this. A little bit of a coffee, a little bit of a chat, talking about fraud, the F word. I mean, that's a great resource. And for our listeners, can we find more information at forensicrestitution.com? Dave, any final thoughts as well? Just to throw it in there, throw it into the mix?
Yeah, we definitely can. There's a lot of information on there in order to how to stop fraud and to find things that are wrong. And just this, fraudsters rarely rely on our assumptions and our blind spots. That's what they rely on the whole time. Stay vigilant, question what doesn't seem right, and don't hesitate to seek out professional help if you suspect something is wrong.
Don't just trust people that are just nice and good looking, because sometimes it's the nicest guy in the room. I mean, wise words, Dave. Thank you so much. Shedding light on the fascinating and eye-opening story of the nicest guy in the room.
My pleasure, Andy. Have a wonderful day.
That's it for this episode of The F Word. Remember, fraudsters may be the nicest person in the room, but vigilance and proper checks can prevent them from succeeding. Until next time, stay sharp and stay safe.